Mm. Mm. It's because it's very low level. It's very low level. Okay. Frequency. Of course it matters. Of course it matters. Frequency can be large and bold. Frequency can be very narrow and very. It could be whatever it want to be. The frequency matters to what you pick up on your ear, on our ears. I think time delaying between speakers. It's how and where the microphones are placed. Not just the microphone, but how and where the microphones are placed for analyzing the frequency, which of course is going out in all directions. Some of which you hear, some of which we hear quite clearly, some of which we don't quite hear clearly because of our hearing range rolls off, and then we don't hear the other high frequency, or there are other frequencies that are a little bit too high, getting in the way, and we can't hear the other frequency very well because our hearing range is not very good at very low frequency. I was just reading something hours ago. Though I read about time delay, I've used time delay before, and it just made me think. In nature, there is no time delay. It is actually, no digital time delay. There is no digital time delay in nature. It's an artificial device developed by man just so to manipulate frequency, time arrival to our ears. But I think I've been in a lot of great bloody sounding cinemas in the past where they don't use time delays across the screen channel. The only thing that's time delayed is the surround channel. But yeah, it just got me thinking. Now there's time delay used on every speaker in the room. There's a few problems there with the time delay. It can make when you listen, you might look at a frequency sweep, and then it says, oh, it's going to add on this time delay, that time delay, etc., etc., etc. But when you listen to it actually happening in real time, a time delay, it does add it can make a sound go like that, and then suddenly with the time delay switch going to sounding like that, even though it might look perfect on the frequency graph sweep with all the overlays, and you think, oh, it's great, but it adds a little, which personally I don't like, because it's like, you look at it and you think, oh, crikey, you got to go back and EQ it. You're probably adding on excessive EQ, because the time delay can make a frequency perfect like that, and then make it dip down, and then it go back up again and dip, especially when you got crossovers on speakers. Because of these auto things, they don't know what speaker you got. They haven't a clue. They do not have a clue. When you do it manually, and then you think, that doesn't sound right. The delay sometimes can be ideal for where you're sat in the seats. But you got to personally go around every single damn seat, playing the same thing over and over and over and over again, so you know where a half pan sound is going on screen, because they're always half pan sounds. Some mixes I've come across may not use a half pan, or they they designed out the mix to sort of play no music in the center channel and just sound effects and dialogue. Though there might be some half, maybe a little half between sound effects. Or if there was a dialogue pan, depending on how far spread the dialogue pan is it hard panned over so it's totally isolated on one side and you can't hear it in the center, so it's totally isolated 100%? There are mixes like that. But when you got something half pan, you think, the time arrival coming to our ears. You think it's slightly in that it's slightly, oh gosh, very difficult to orientate on this camera here. I know. So, say take these two grapes, if I can get the positions correct. Move it over a little bit. Get that up there a little bit. Move it apart. That one down a bit. And you get two sounds of playing at the same time. But one is slightly a few dB less. Yes, it's a few dB less than the other channel. And of course, there is if you move the speakers slightly and then you get them in the right position, then of course you've got to go round all the seats and check it, just to make sure. Then the sound seems to appear to come from one side. If you start moving that other speaker too close near then to the center, it gets a little, where the heck's it coming from? And then once it's literally laying on top of, on top of the center, you can't really tell. You might notice a slight level kind of weird increase sort of thing, or a slight, weird thing. The time delay just puts a delay on the center by a couple of feet, and then you sort of like, oh yeah, it's over there slightly. Um, hmm. But frequency's also got to be absolute. It's got to be absolute, providing there is enough EQ filters to address the speakers. Electronically, the film mix looks okay until it reaches individual speakers, and then it's like, there's a bit of weirdness going on there. Plus the speaker positioning, which has to be checked, and it's just a case of just moving. If you're using time delay and just turning a little few millisecond, you may as well move that speaker just a few little tiny, less than an inch, and just move it slightly, just like a laser, though a speaker isn't a laser, and a laser is just pointing, and gradually that laser hits a point on the wall somewhere, and then you move it slightly. That point that it's hitting on the wall is going to move. It's going to change its position. So, yeah. And there's the distance away from the screen. How close you are to the screen. To notice the the sound pans and the sounds that are fixed in positions, and I can measure it flat if I want to, but then our ears, is only going to pick up a certain frequency range until it rolls off, and then you can't notice that range very clearly. You're not perceiving it very clearly. So you always got to put some sort of elevation in the range. That's not perfect, but that's just simply down to I refuse to use Dirac Live, because if I use Dirac Live, it's going to skew up all the rest of the decoding for other expanding channels that I use in the system, and it will just skew up the frequency response for the decoding. So I can't use it. I can program it in and use roughly the just over 600 filters that it's got, and that frequency response on the screen there was 1/12 octave. And all I have to do is just play that pink noise again, and then just start counting how many bands there are. Oh, there'll be enough on Dirac to do that, but then I go to 120, then 1/48 octave, and I look at. So 1 kilohertz is made up of a few other frequency bands that are in below it and below and in front of it, and then you got the 1 kilohertz peaking up there, and you just got a few little bands, just tiny, and it's pushing that frequency up. And depending on where you put the microphone, you can only put the microphone really in one place in a room. You can't EQ every seat. It's impossible. It's always going to have slight difference, and that's just, I suppose, how nature is. It's the same thing. put the microphones a little bit nearer to the speakers and see, like, oh, that's what the frequency response is doing there with the bass peak and such. And with the microphone a little bit further back, it's giving this sort of, Well, the only thing it needs correcting is some part of the room to get that frequency response to come down a little bit so it's not peaking too high. Otherwise, we would just hear that peak all the time. You use a bit of time delay in the system between other speakers and such. Between I don't know, a front channel left and some of the surrounds, and then play the front and all the surrounds all at the same time, and then just look at the frequency, and then just start adjusting one of the time delay on the LF bass cab for the screen channel left until some part of that frequency response dips down a little bit. Yeah. Otherwise, some part of the room needs to have, like, maybe openings or something, little openings where the bass wave will not just hit the ceiling, but will pass through at certain points and just travel upward. It might improve the frequency. The frequency needs breathing room. It doesn't like being confined. In nature, outside, it sounds better outside. When you listen to speakers outdoors, sometimes they sound better outdoors than they do indoors. But then, when things get quiet in the music and that, you then notice how bad outdoors sounds because the noise floor is so high. Can't win there. Unless you got a very special room. Maybe I should get myself a timpani. I don't know where I'm going to put it afterwards. I might end up selling it, or maybe just hire. Yeah, that's better. Just hire a musical instrument, hire a timpani, so I can play it in the room, hear what it actually record it, and hear what it actually sounds like in the room itself, versus many timpanis that are used in a movie or a movie soundtrack or on a movie mix itself. Because they're usually different. They're usually mixed differently, slightly. The same film score thing is slightly different for the movie mix. It's slightly different. I'd imagine timpani would sound very good. And of course, the mixes on the films all mixes on films that have timpani. Boom, boom. They're all slightly different. Somewhere they play it very low level in the mix, and then at some dramatic point, then they raise the mix levels up on that timpani. Mm. And how would a symphony sound outside versus indoors? It's recording it at the same distance, multiple microphone, then bringing it indoors with the same with the microphones placed at roughly the same distance, because and just see how it compares with the ceiling and the walls. Hmm. Of course, symphony's got to be recorded outdoors, more or less at night time when it's very quiet. Can't do it during the daytime. There's too much traffic moving around in the background. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Hang on. Deal, that just arrived today. It's got to. Oh, deal. Okay. That's what it sounds like. Oh, the deal. What's the menu like? Okay. Got DTS, Dolby Digital, English 2-channel mono original soundtrack. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what it sounds like. I like that. So you got no screen to look at the moment until it comes out of the garage. Yeah. Point of view. Yeah, like a point of view. POV. Almost there. Almost. Sound sounds pan around as you're going through.
That's 13631 Valley Boulevard in Garden Grove. And now for a report from the freeways to Don Edwards and KPMG's Eye in the Sky. Come in, Don. Thanks, Dick. And things seem to be pretty normal on our Southland freeways, which is to say they just about filled to capacity at this hour of the morning. There's a report of a stalled vehicle in the number 2 lane of the inbound San Diego freeway just south of Mulholland, and we also have a report of an accident.
Oh, that sounds good.
West of the 605 junction.
Sounds like going in a tunnel. And then coming out of the tunnel, and then probably coming up to another tunnel in the mix. That's what you hear. Let's look for the other. Let's look for the other sounds as well. Yeah, even a slight bridge, you get that sound when you even go under a bridge.
You know something? You know how much your dog likes me? Well, make sure that's what he's getting.
That's better than a Dolby Atmos mix.
It's only one of hundreds of double discounts always available at Grocery Cart. The Giant 49. Oh, at the first sign of any hemorrhoidal discomfort, treatment should begin at once. Remarkably successful results have been obtained. Doctor-proven medication.
Oh yeah, even the sound of that, yeah. Got a sound. You got a barrier on the road.
Remarkably successful results have been obtained. Doctor-proven medication.
Of course, the angle. Just fade it down. Of course, there is the angles. That's why I like, your multi-mixing sound and frequency, and there's just not enough encoding, decoding to play it back with. Sure, if I put an array of surround speakers in this room up to about 35 the same speaker, of course. If I used a smaller speaker, then it would be a lot more speakers, but if I use the same ones, it would be like 35 speakers down this side and 35 down on this side, but there's equipment in the way and there's a door in the way, so it's not actually possible. So, but in an ideal room that's planned out, yeah, just literally plaster the wall with speakers, because you're trying to create on the playback a psychoacoustic effect. And when you got a sound on specific middle high frequencies and they sound like, yeah, it's coming from that position up there and it's not anywhere else. Low frequencies, yeah, they tend to be a little bit more wider, longer wavelength. And so they're going to sound like, so when you got a whole thing and it's all turned on smoothly, and use psychoacoustics to try and get a proximilarity of what we roughly, I say, yeah, it sound like that in reality, that sort of thing. Not that loudness, because that's just a little bit too exaggerated. But, oh yeah, this is not a bad DVD transfer. No need to upgrade to a 4K disc. I mean, why would I want to upgrade to a 4K? Let's just turn the fader up.
I'm really not the head of the family, and yet I'm the man of the family, although there are people in the neighborhood who question that.
Well, I like that sound.
Now, I penciled it in first, but I said, no, that's being dishonest. I'm really not the head of the family, and yet I'm the man of the...
The sound of the engine sort of thing is more in front, And then when it cuts to the other angle, the sound of the engine's more, it changes position. It's down to good artistic mixers versus some of these overrated Atmos mixers. But you know, got to create. Oh, he's coming up to the truck now. Yeah, the truck.
Talk about pollution.
Wow. Wow. Anyway, I'm going to cut this off now. You just got to stop love it. You just got to stop worrying about the time delay. I think try and use less of it. If anyone try and tempted to, because when you play it with pink noise, it's totally different. And you think, I don't like the sound of that. It could be okay, great. Sometimes with side surrounds and such, especially when you've got multiple arrays. You're trying to manipulate the sound of the multi-array to come to the seating positions on the side of the ears, and then you got to move forward slightly and move back, move that way slightly while listening, because sometimes your ear may pick up, oh, that surround speaker there, more than maybe that one. Depends on what frequency the output is, and you got to check it. You got to check it in real time, pink noise, not just do those frequencies and think, oh yeah, because you move that microphone while it's playing pink noise, and then you can see what's really going on. And you think, maybe the tweeter's got reverse polarity on it. See, you don't know until you check the damn things, and ideally the polarity should be forward. And there's the position of the speaker. And when it's playing mono or playing the same signal on the same speakers, you got to get them to sound like one whole speaker, so it's uniform as humanly possible. Of course, you're going cluster literally all over the wall.